Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that literally shapes everything about us. We're talking about habits. It's not our occasional one-off choices or those sudden 2 a.m. bursts of motivation that define us. It's actually our daily habits that act as the true, invisible architects of our destiny. Every success, every failure, even our core identity. It's all just the result of repeated behaviors performed consistently over time.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the invisible architect. Then we'll move into decoding the habit loop, followed by choice versus automatic default. After that, we'll look at ancient wisdom and modern mastery, and finally, we'll wrap up by building your strategic habit blueprint.
All right, let's jump right in. Part 1, the invisible architect, how daily routines build your destiny.
The philosopher Aristotle actually hit the nail on the head centuries ago. He said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Think about that for a second. One single workout? It doesn't magically make you fit. One all-night study session doesn't suddenly make you an expert. Greatness just doesn't come from a single event. It comes from behaviors relentlessly compounding over time. It's like a giant puzzle, coming together piece by piece.
So to really grasp how this all works, we need to define what a habit actually is, psychologically speaking. Basically, it's a subconscious script, a learned behavior that just runs on pure autopilot. Imagine if you had to consciously think about how to tie your shoes every single morning, like trying to remember every single step. Your brain would be completely overwhelmed. So habits exist to conserve your mental energy. They drastically reduce your cognitive load so you can focus on much bigger problems. Moving right along to Part 2, decoding the habit loop, the neuroscience of automatic behavior.
Okay, so there is an exact physical shift that happens in your brain the very moment a behavior becomes a habit. It's super interesting. When you're learning something new, you're using your prefrontal cortex. That's the conscious, high-energy, decision-making center. But as you repeat that behavior, control literally physically transfers over to the basal ganglia, which is the region governing automatic, effortless routines. Your brain basically just says, hey, this pattern works, let's automate the whole shebang.
Modern science explains this brilliant automation through a 3-step framework called the habit loop. First, you have a cue, like say a notification ping on your phone, that triggers the brain. Second is the routine, which is actually picking up the phone and checking the screen. And third, the reward, getting that little hit of entertaining distraction, which reinforces the whole neural pathway. Over time, fueled by dopamine, your brain starts anticipating that reward the second it hears the ping, and boom, conscious effort just completely vanishes.
Which brings us to Part 3, choice versus automatic default, the cost of living on autopilot. This brings us to a massive, vital pivot point in behavioral psychology. Are we actually consciously choosing our actions, or are we just surrendering to automatic defaults? Think about your own daily phone usage for a second. Are you consciously deciding to pick it up every single time, or is it just a default indulgence? Because here is the scary reality. Habits absolutely start as conscious choices, deciding to go for a run or deciding to doom scroll on social media, but they almost always end up as completely automatic conditioning. And here's the catch. Your brain doesn't judge whether a habit is good or bad. It honestly doesn't care. It simply reinforces whatever brings a reward. Because of this blind spot, our initial totally conscious decisions can easily end up automating our own failure. All right, Part 4, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Mastery. From samskaras to elite performance rituals. What's wild is that ancient wisdom perfectly predicted this modern science of neural chunking. Thousands of years ago, the Bhagavad Gita described samskaras, which are repeated tendencies that create deep mental grooves in the subconscious. Similarly, the Yoga Sutras emphasized abhyasa, meaning sustained, consistent effort over time. Long before we had fMRI machines, the ancients knew for sure that your repeated patterns are literally carving out your consciousness. And today, elite performers leverage this exact same wisdom. Success is rarely an accident, folks. Whether it's athletes doing daily mental rehearsal, entrepreneurs locking themselves in for deep work, or spiritual masters practicing meditation, high performers actively use habits to deliberately eliminate friction. By automating the hard stuff, they increase their consistency, which inevitably leads to mastery and a massive, massive compounding advantage.
And now for Part 5, your strategic habit blueprint, a framework for mastering behavior change.
So if you want to break a bad cycle, please don't just rely on sheer willpower to eliminate the trigger. Honestly, it rarely ever works.
Instead, use a proven method called habit substitution. You keep the exact same cue, like a feeling of stress, and you keep the exact same reward, that need for relaxation, but you seamlessly insert a much better routine, like doing some deep breathing instead of reaching for a cigarette. It's a real game changer.
So how do you actually construct a flawless system for yourself? Well, first, practice habit awareness. Literally just track your triggers for a week. Second, design powerful cues by optimizing your environment, like just leave your gym bag right by the front door. Third, start with micro habits. Don't commit to a grueling 2-hour workout right off the bat. Just commit to 10 push-ups to build some early momentum. And fourth, use habit stacking. Attach your new micro habit directly onto something you already do every day, like meditating right after you brush your teeth.
But I've got to say, the absolute ultimate shift for lifelong change happens when you alter your vocabulary. Stop focusing merely on outcome-based goals like, I want exercise. That's fleeting. Instead, start building identity-based habits. Tell yourself, I am a disciplined person. Rewiring how you fundamentally view yourself makes the habit a natural extension of who you are, rather than just some chore you're forcing yourself to do.
And by adopting that new identity, you can implement strategic daily routines that give you an incredible competitive edge. We're talking early morning reflection, dedicated deep work sessions, digital discipline, gratitude journaling. Seriously, none of these take superhuman strength. But when executed daily, these habits compound over the years to produce truly extraordinary results from seemingly ordinary actions.
Over time, the math of this compounding effect is absolutely undeniable. On day one, a small habit is formed. Over months, that habit becomes a consistent action you take completely effortlessly. Over years, those actions forge a rock-solid character. And over a lifetime, that character determines your ultimate destiny. It's an unbroken chain stretching directly from today's tiny choice to tomorrow's reality.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to realize something. Anyone can set a lofty 10-year goal, but the real question is, what are your daily habits? What invisible scripts are quietly building the life you're going to have to live tomorrow? Take a hard, honest look at your routines today, because if your habits are writing the story of your future, are you actually going to like the ending?